What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the New York Sports Take. This is episode number 32. I am your host, Matt O'Connor, joined alongside the great Tom Fitzpatrick. Tommy boy, it's been way too long since your ass has been on the feed for a podcast, months upon months. Some connectivity internet issues from your college, your neck of the woods up in Cortland, but you're home right now. And there's nobody, and I mean nobody, that I'd rather have on to talk about the ass whooping that the New York Knicks laid to the Philadelphia 76ers yesterday. Some would call it absolute BTA, an absolute spanking, dude. And we get to have you right here talk about all of it. How you doing? How you feeling, brother?
Doing all right, man. It was that last game of the Hawks series and the first game of the 76ers series might have been two of the most dominant, high-quality wins on both sides, offense and defensively, and for the entire team that I've ever seen in my life. That was insane. Like, usually we'll play good offense or we'll play good defense, and it will be for a quarter or a half. This was start to finish, high-level basketball from everybody that entered the game. I mean, the flex action was unbelievable. We were getting whatever we wanted from it. And anyone that won in the game, the intensity only went up. It didn't drop or stay the same at all. So I couldn't be happier, man.
Yeah, let's start there. And you mentioned the dominance, particularly over the last four. Well, I got a mind-boggling stat for you, including the last three games of the first round and yesterday's ass-kicking over the Sixers. We have outscored opponents by a combined of 135 points. That's right,
Wow.
135 in four games. Tom, man, I have listened to a lot of Knicks fans over the course of the day. I've listened to a lot of sports radio. I've heard clips on social media, Instagram, TikTok. Me and you are 20, so we're not, and our age bracket's 19, 18, 20-year-olds. So obviously, this is the best version of the New York Knicks that we've seen in our lifetime. That goes without saying, because for the vast majority of our lives, New York Knicks basketball has been filled with such great futility and 17, 20 win seasons, not even dreaming of making to the playoffs, let alone getting to the levels that we're getting to now. But I have heard so many Knicks fans out there, basically, if you're not if you didn't see those championship teams in the 70s with Walt Clyde Frazier, if you're a 30, 40, even 50-year-old Knicks fan, you haven't seen this quality of product on the court in your lifetime. Quite frankly, not even close. This dominance over these last four, since we were last back on this podcast, basically, is
Yeah.
unprecedented. Unprecedented. And the way that they're doing it, Tom, it truly took like 85 games to figure out.
Yep.
I mean, the Knicks, I think they won 55 regular season games this year, one or two more than they did last year under Tom Thibodeau. And they were a good basketball team this year. They did a lot of things well, but it was nothing compared to what we're seeing right now as far as the connectivity amongst these players. Everybody is so dialed in. They are running actions. When one action doesn't work, they automatically can go into the other without even thinking about it twice, and they'll execute that action on a high level. Mike Brown is not even having to call plays or do anything like that. Everybody is on the same page, it feels like, every play, both ends of the floor. We're looking at a team that you could see why they're net ranked top 5 on defense and offense alike, because they're showing it on both ends of the floor right now. And it's everybody. It's such a well-balanced attack. And we'll get into all the things that Philly did wrong yesterday and how they might look to respond. And we exploited them. They were bad. They were very, very bad.
Mm-hmm.
But for Mikal Bridges, who's putting up donuts in the Hawks series and a minus 26 and a non-factor, for him to get going yesterday, 26 points, I believe, very efficient.
Yeah.
For OG Anunoby, who was basically the series MVP against Atlanta, and then the two stars to be clicking, playing their best basketball of the season at the right time. It's such a beautiful sight.
No, 100%. You're spot on. I mean, and it's easy for these guys. They're very talented to put up 110, 120 points a game as a team, but it is not easy to defend the way we're defending at such a high level. You could tell by just watching the game yesterday that they enjoyed playing defense. They wanted to play defense. They were doing everything in their power to stop the other team from scoring, and it was everybody on the floor. I mean, they were diving on loose balls, a bunch of steals, bunch of deflections. You could tell they were just they really really wanted it and were having fun out there.
Yeah, no, everybody was involved. I want to kind of get into some of the players and talk about Brunson. He was so magnificent yesterday. 27 of
Yeah.
his 35 points coming in the first half. But last thing that I'll say on the collective part, and I read this, that I'll give credit to James Edwards. He's an excellent Knicks beat writer for The Athletic. He noted this in his article today. I think it was titled like Knicks have reached Nirvana right now. It was just waxing poetic about the whole team. That isn't this like what we've seen? Maybe not to this extent, because right now that every shot is going, everything is falling. I mean, the clip that they're shooting at right now is unsustainable with how good it is. But when Mike Brown was brought in here at the beginning of the year, the way that they're playing, and I mentioned how they go into an action, they just roll right into the next. All their counters are working. Usually the primary's there, but if it's not, the counter's working. If the shot doesn't go, somebody's crashing the boards, getting the offensive rebound. Isn't that what we envisioned when Mike Brown took over last summer? A system in which you didn't always have to call a play and it had to be executed to a T, but they have concepts generated at a very steady flow, and they're unpredictable, and they're interchangeable, and guys are flowing in it seamlessly. Isn't that exactly like what you thought you were getting when Mike Brown was brought here? And I was never out on Mike Brown like some Knicks fans were during the regular season, although I was disappointed with him a lot throughout the season. But that's what I envisioned, and I hadn't felt that all regular season long until pretty much yesterday. Or no,
Yeah,
I'm saying, excuse me, not yesterday. Pretty much till this 4-game stretch.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this is when he gets hired, this is the expectations were high, and how they've been playing recently, they've not only met them, but they've exceeded expectations. And during the season, there was a lot of talk. Sometimes maybe they got away from what was working, and they went to ISO ball too much, and this and that. But I mean, when it really matters is playoff time, and these last 4 games have been nothing but exceptional. So I just hope we can continue the way we're playing, and keep the foot on the gas. We can't let up.
Yeah, no doubt. And let's transition a little bit to yesterday, Philly. Philly had a lot of excuses post game, Tom. I don't know if you heard some of their press conferences and Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid talk after the game, but instead of Nick Nurse just kind of falling on his sword and being like, yeah, we played like shit today. Sense of urgency wasn't there. Obviously, he packed it in pretty early. He had the reserves out there by the third quarter. And everybody was just off top to bottom. Tyrese Maxey couldn't get it going at all for them. But they were chock full of excuses. He pretty much went up there and just said, hey, he used the resting as an excuse, obviously short rest, playing game 7 on Saturday, quick turnaround to the Garden. We had a feeling that this kind of game might happen. Well, newsflash for you, buddy. You're not getting any more rest than you did from that series to throughout the series, because it's off day, game day, off day, game day over the course of this entire series. You're not going to get those back-to-back built-in off days. So you're not going to get any more rested. I guess you guys didn't play in the second half yesterday, so you'll get some rest in that sense. And the Knicks shot from such a high percentage, whatever. That's not like that will happen again. Freaking everything was going in. True, but when you lose by basically 40 points, 39 points, I mean, it just kind of felt weak sauce on his part to take less accountability and more just chalk it up to circumstance. And then, Tom, I'll let you comment on this. There was Joel Embiid after the game, and Embiid did not have it going in this game whatsoever. Most of his points came from the free throw line, trying to see what he finished with yesterday. Well, I don't have it on me, but it wasn't very good. And defensively, the Knicks ate him up throughout this entire game. Obviously, he's aching with the appendicitis injury, primarily playing in drop coverage. And Brunson was just feasting on him yesterday, getting comfortable in the middle of the floor. Anytime the Sixers, it looked like they were going to try and blitz or they'd switch on Embiid for Brunson too, he would just maneuver right around it, create some space for himself, and pop the easy mid-range. He was knocking down threes yesterday, getting to the rim at will when he wanted to as well. But they had no answer for Jalen Brunson, particularly when the pick and roll game, Joel Embiid looked absolutely lost. And then in the second quarter, I don't know if you remember this play, but there was one particular play where Mikal Bridges, who is not a very tough guy, not a very physical basketball player, as you know. So anytime that he's able to fight through a screen, Knick fans will applaud that because it's a rarity. Doesn't happen often. He fights through a screen on Joel Embiid. I thought it was a clean fight. Maybe he got a little bit too handsy and touchy there, like a tiny bit. But guess what? That's what it takes if you want to successfully fight through a screen. You can't patty cake around. You
Yep.
know that as a basketball player. You actually got to exert some force. And when you're doing that, you're kind of going through the middle area of the defender. So he kind of goes into Embiid's midsection a little bit. And Embiid after the game, oh man, I'm doing my best Joel Embiid impression now. Oh man, felt a little unnecessary there. Don't know why I had to go after that area after what I've been through. And I guess we'll have to be a little bit more physical and ready next time. Like, this guy is a professional whiner. He is the bitchiest player in basketball. I don't mind coming up here in front of a microphone and saying that. He finds an excuse for everything. We all know the history that he's had with foul play against the Knicks in particular.
Yep.
Dude, this guy is I just had to like rip into him a little bit because he is so freaking annoying. And it seems that every time it failed. 2 years ago, there was multiple instances. Remember when he pulled Robinson's
Yep.
ankle and he punched OG in the balls? This guy never fails, dude. It's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. When you're as a basketball player, who do you look up to and admire? Your star players who were supposed to be your leaders and your head coach. Philly went 0 for 2. Both their head
Yeah.
coach and their star player were babies. They should have just owned it and said, listen, it wasn't our day today. We just did not play well. The Knicks played exceptional. Move on to game 2. Could you ever see the Jalen Brunson going up there and saying, "Oh, let me make 100 excuses on why we lost"? No. As a leader, that would never happen, and that's why, like, as a Knicks fan, you couldn't be happier right now. Imagine we were Philly fans after that press conference. I'd be pissed.
That is such a great point. And I didn't even think about it that way, too. Could you imagine Mike Brown and Jalen Brunson, our best player, our all NBA guard, and our head coach, who is not as successful as Nick Nurse, doesn't have an NBA championship, and he hasn't even been there that long, but he's trusted as a coach. Imagine they got up there. That's a great point, and laid the eggs on the microphone that those two did yesterday. You got Mike Brown saying, "Oh, Philly won't shoot that well again," and Mike Brown does it often. He gives the other team a credit and give credit where credit is due. I'm fine with coaches giving opposing teams credit, but could you imagine he just blatantly was like, "Yeah, they won't shoot like that again. We didn't have enough rest." When you don't have extra rest going forward, and Jalen Brunson, calling out somebody for fighting through a screen, basically, because it wasn't unnecessary contact. It wasn't a technical foul. It wasn't anything like that. It's just Embiid not being able to handle physicality because he's the walking dead, basically. He's a wheelchair player at this point of his career. And he can't move. He can't move. Jalen Brunson exposed him for not being able to get around on those pick and rolls yesterday. The middle of the floor for the Knicks was wide open. And then Philly tried to tried to go into a 2-3 zone out of the third quarter, which only made things worse. They
Yeah,
tried to go box out. They tried to go box out and have double Jalen Brunson, put the emphasis on him. That didn't
that's
work either. Everything was
great.
clicking for the Knicks offensively. Knicks came out right away. They went 5 out. It was beautiful. And the beautiful thing, Tom, and you know the X's and O's probably better than I do about basketball. Beautiful thing, and let's get into the individual player performances here. When you
Mhm.
go 5 out, and this is the
Yes.
version of the Knicks that was missing all year, is you could have Karl Anthony Towns pinch at the high post. And when he has the ball up there, what he's doing right now with his teammates cutting around him on the baseline, guys setting screens for one another to break free, it allows Towns to make those hockey passes, to make those water polo passes, and find open guys cutting to the rim. It is amazing, his distribution this entire postseason. Me and Andrew actually talked about that last pod because it just got going, but it's gotten to another level since then. And even yesterday, he continued. It was primarily Brunson, especially in that first half, but Towns, once again, got a ton of assists yesterday. I think throughout these like in the last 3 or 4 games, Towns has more assists in that time frame than he did all of the postseason run yesterday. Yet last year, excuse me, when the Knicks got to the Eastern Conference Finals. And he's also been shooting the ball exceptionally well too. So just talk about the Knicks being able to go 5 out and how much you like Towns working as that hub from the high post.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like, the 5 out creates great spacing, and the Knicks have been moving the ball well. You can see as of late, nobody's standing still. There's always picks. There's always movement off ball, and when you have Cat who's a threat to shoot from pretty much anywhere as a 7-footer, able to make those passes like that, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. When he gets the ball at the high post, he can either shoot it, he can either make those passes you were talking about, or I even saw him yesterday when he's one on one and there's no help defense. He went right by Joel Embiid and dunked it because the help defense was late because they got to be looking for the corners because once you drive and hit the corner pass, the next play down they're going to be thinking, oh shoot, I got to get out on these shooters in the corner, and then Cat can just go right by Joel Embiid because he doesn't really want to play defense. So it just gives us so many options, and it's really hard to guard because it's so unpredictable, especially when the Knicks have so many options as starters and guys off the bench who can all make plays. And you can just tell the chemistry is really good.
Yeah, options is so important when analyzing what they're doing right now because there wasn't options, and Jalen Brunson yesterday scores 35 points on ridiculous efficiency. You already know how the Sixers are game planning for game 2 at the Garden.
Yeah.
They're going to focus on him. They're going to double him. They're going to put all the emphasis on that guy, and they'll make other guys beat them. Make Josh Hart hit 3-pointers. Make OG Anunoby have to go one-on-one to the basket. Make Karl Anthony Towns have to be aggressive. Well, all those other guys are doing their part. They're holding up their end of the bargain, and they're scoring at ease. So they can't do that. They can't afford to double Brunson, and nor can they put extra attention on anybody else when everybody is clicking. And that's why they overmatch this Philly team so much and why we're all so excited about the way that they're playing basketball right now. Now, OG Anunoby, you could argue, like I said at the top of the show, that he was the MVP of that Atlanta series. His 3-point shooting was off the charts. His defense, locking down Jalen Johnson or whoever Mike Brown said, you go get him. He went and got him. But yesterday was another display of greatness from him on both ends of the floor. He was 7 of 8 from the field. He had 18 points, knocked down both of his threes, and he's a big benefactor of that 5 out that we talked about with Cat. He's often the guy switching off others, cutting, getting to the hoop, and he's just knocking shot. It's felt like he hasn't missed all postseason, Tom. It's
Yeah.
been that good from OG. I mean, I heard somebody on sports radio today say that it might go down as the greatest trade in New York Knicks history. We don't know about that yet because I do think that the Knicks got acquired Dave DeBusschere in free agency, who was an all-time top 75 player. So we'll have to see if the Knicks win a championship. I'll declare that for OG. But how impressed have you been with him? And man, I mentioned those efficiency numbers too, but defense, man, that's why we got him in the first place, and he's been so good.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's been automatic. Like the fact that he can lock down the other team's best players and score the way he's scoring is so valuable. I mean, man of very few words. He comes in, he does what he's supposed to do, and gets out. Like it seems like even the tough shots that he's taking, like I'll be like, oh, I don't know, but then he makes it.
How
So
about
it's
that
like,
shot in the second quarter yesterday?
yeah,
You remember that?
yeah, I'm like, oh, well, can't say anything because it feels like anything he's shooting finds a way to get in the basket. And he's so efficient. Like almost every shot he's taking is going in, and then he'll go down on the other end and guard the other team's best player, and then he'll do the same thing. Like, I mean, you can't ask for much more. I mean, he takes good shots. He's efficient, plays defense, rebounds, passes. I mean, and he doesn't complain. I mean, you can't ask for much more, and he's showing it up every single game, it seems like.
Yeah, the other wing, Michael Bridges, 17 points yesterday. Another guy whose field goal percentage was awesome. Love to see it. The donut earlier in the series, things hit a all-time low for Michael Bridges' tenure. There's no doubt about it to me. After game 3 of that Atlanta series, he was right around a minus 26. Knicks were in big trouble, down 2-1. And over the course of the last 6 quarters, so the last 2 quarters of the Knicks collapse in game 2 against Atlanta, then coupled with the entirety of game 3, he had more turnovers than points, assists, rebounds, and steals combined. So any positive offensive metric. And he got it slowly but surely going the next couple Nick wins in that series. Then he bursted onto the scene in the historic blowout of the Hawks in the decisive game 6. I think he had 26 points that game. And then yesterday, 17. Looks like his offense is finally starting to come around. But Tom, to me, more importantly than what he did on the offensive floor yesterday was shut down arguably the Sixers' most prolific scorer in Tyrese Maxey. Most of Maxey's points came from the free throw line. I think he was like 9 of 9 from the line. Um, but he was virtually shut down. He didn't get his first field goal until midway through the second quarter
Yeah.
yesterday. So Michael, and that's an important note too with Bridges is that while he is a pretty solid presence defensively, the players that he struggled with the most are those versatile guards and wings that have a little bit more speed to them that can beat him to the rim. Yesterday, not the case. Tyrese Maxey is one of the fastest players in basketball, and Bridges was all over him throughout that entire game. How encouraging of a sight is that? Because let's be real, where are we going down the road if you're not getting anything from this dude? And yesterday, we got something on both ends of the floor. Huge.
Yeah, he's it seems like he's an X factor. I was talking to my brother last night, and he said, if he plays like that, I can't see anybody beating us, man. Like if you were to ask me who's been top 3 players hardest to stop in the playoffs so far, Maxey would probably be on that list. And the fact that he couldn't really buy a bucket yesterday for most of the game, that's due to a lot of credit to Mikal Bridges, man. And the fact that it would be very easy for the Knicks not to trust him on offense because of how he hasn't because of how he's been and so recently. But I think that's when the chemistry comes into factor. He's played with guys like Brunson and Josh Hart in college, and they trust him. And these guys know and have faith in him that he's capable of playing like that. So they're going to continue to trust him. And to Mikal Bridges' credit, he continued to take those shots, and they dropped yesterday. So really encouraging. And we just, if he could play like that going forward, really tough to beat.
Yeah, it's such a key for the Knicks down the line. And one thing on with Philly, like, look, man, I mean, yesterday, everywhere, more so the defense, I would say. They shot twice as many free throws as the Knicks. So if you're looking for at least one thing from Philly that they did better than the Knicks yesterday, because there weren't a lot of areas in which they were
Yeah.
better, it was from the line. And Maxey and Embiid really headlining that. One of them went 9 for 9, another one went like 11 for 12. So they were getting to the line early, and they did have Cat and Mitchell Robinson in early foul trouble. We saw Cat had to get out of the game later in the first quarter because he already had two. Knicks put in Huck Porty, and then who would have thought that Huck Porty would have gotten first quarter time in yesterday's game, but he did because of the foul trouble that the big men were in, and then they put Robinson back in the final 2 minutes because you can't play the Hack-a-Mitch game with the bonus situation in the final 2 minutes. So where was I that was like a side note, but yeah, great performance yesterday from Michael, and then from Hart, like just another Josh Hart kind of game. Not what we've come to expect from him on a night in, night out basis. He had, let's see, it was like a little bit of everything. I think it was like 8 points. He had 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. So, I
Josh
mean,
Hart numbers.
yeah, very close to a double-double, pretty close to a triple-double as well. Great defensively. Again, another game in which the Knicks held an opponent to under 100 points, too, which is
Yep.
so hard to do in the modern NBA. A lot of that because of a whole lot of bricks from Philly, but still, even in the garbage time, man, like Philly got it going with those reserves. At least they looked better than they did in the first half. And I'm thinking, well, they'll definitely clear 100 points. And the Knicks still manage to hold them to under triple digits. So the final yesterday, what was the final yesterday? It was 130
Lot
7
to a
to
little.
98. Yeah, 137-98. Awesome game. It's all said and done. Nick shot 63.1% from the field, 51% from three. That's crazy.
That's unheard of.
51% from three. They were 53 of 84 from the field altogether. And yeah, it was so impressed. It was truly a symphony yesterday. It was everybody playing at their pinnacle, at their very highest level. It was almost like an orchestra where everything just came perfectly together and created beautiful music. And I mean, if they could play 80% of the way that they do going forward, I don't see them losing. Obviously, you're not going to have those. You're not going 53 of 84 every game, right,
No,
Tom? But like,
no.
if they continue this play, how easily do you see them getting through Philly? Are they sweeping them, or is this going 5?
I mean, if they play the way if they continue to play, we beat them in 5. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but I will give Philly this. I don't think they're going to be a type of team that is going to quit. They're not going to quit like you saw in the last series. If they lost a game, they did come back strong the next game. So we definitely can't count them out. They do have guys, as we know. But I mean, if we keep this up, we're going to be tough to beat, like against anyone. And I really,
Yeah. And yeah, and we did all that. We kind of went player by player for the Knicks. We ripped the Sixers a little bit in their soft ass mentality, but we didn't talk about the player of the game at all. Jalen Brunson, 12 of 18 shooting, 35 overall, 3 of 6 from downtown to go along with 3 assists and just 1 turnover, which is always big for him. I feel like that's such a big line of demarcation for Jalen Brunson, and if he's playing well, as his turnover numbers as the point guard. Yesterday, it was magnificent. I mean, I won't beat a dead horse. We already talked about how he was manipulating the middle of the floor and the paint and the pick and rolls were working so effectively and he was getting to his spots with ease and knocking down shots. But Tom, watching this dude and when he is manipulating defenders and the footwork is impeccable as it was yesterday, and he's just scoring at will. I know what I think. I immediately think, like, how is this possible for a guy in the NBA of his stature to be posting these numbers and doing what he's doing to these guys that are so much bigger and more physically imposing than him? Isn't that just like remarkable?
Yeah, it honestly is. I mean, like, I don't, I just can't even put it into words. You can just tell by watching him. Like in his mind, he always has something to prove. He's never satisfied, and he brings it day in and day out. He's such a good player. I mean, gets to his spots. He can shoot. He'll beat you off the dribble. He'll post you up like a big man. I mean, in the pick and roll, he's almost impossible to guard. He makes these crazy layups over 7-foot defenders. I mean, yeah, I gotta. You can like he's always just so motivated to do better every single game. Like he's never satisfied, and that's such a good trait to have as a leader.
Absolutely. And that's El Capitan too. And after the game, they asked him, like, what has been the secret to the buzzword that I mentioned off the top of the show, which is connectivity. Like, why did it take so long for you guys to all click to this extent? And what's really working right now? And he just said practice. I mean, I don't necessarily know if that meant practice is in, like, being at the facility during the day and running through drills and all that, or if it meant just continuity of continuously getting to know each other in game and being able to adjust and play to each other's strengths and work as a unit. But I think it's probably more so the game action, just because that's how you learn the best. So that as a basketball player, like that's how ultimately you're going to better yourself, is just keep playing. And we hopefully are getting better on these podcasts because we keep doing them. So
Yeah,
that's the way it works, man. Practice makes perfect. There's
yeah.
nothing like live game reps. So it's truly been spectacular to watch. I'm fired up for game 2 tomorrow, Wednesday night at the Garden. I'll probably have this out and up tomorrow morning. So get you ready a little bit for game 2. Surprisingly, Tom, the Knicks are 7.5-point favorites, whereas I believe they're 1 point less of a favorite than they were yesterday, even after that beatdown. So I guess the sports books are looking at that anomaly in game 1 for Philly and how poorly they played. But I don't know, man. You're going to go a point lower after we just blitz these guys by almost 40 points. Give me the, if I'm a betting man there and I can legally trade on Kalshi, I'm 20 years old. Give me the Knicks at 7.5, right?
I mean, yeah, that's a little disrespectful after last game, and we're still at the Garden. It's not. I mean, the Garden in itself should give you 2.5 points minimum on the book. I mean, that's I can't. I didn't see that, but I can't believe that at all.
Yeah,
I
I heard.
mean,
Yeah, I heard them mention on WFAN today, interestingly enough. And also the Garden yesterday, like I had my headphones in. I was watching it on my iPad because the TV in our main room over here wasn't working. So it could have had a little bit to do with that, but I've heard other people say it as well, seen it on social media. I think Knick fans in the Jalen Brunson era are getting are feeling a little bit more comfortable with the successes. Like we are the only team in the NBA now to advance past the first round for the past 4 years in a row. So New York Knicks fans who at the beginning of this run back 4 years ago, when we got to the first round, it was like the Super Bowl. It was a national holiday. The
yeah.
streets were already going crazy. Knicks fans are we're a little bit more advanced now as a fan base. We're used to winning in the first round, and we want to see this team accelerate to the next level. But yesterday was the energy at MSG was so much more palpable than the first round. I'm not saying it was quiet there in the first round against the Hawks, but yesterday was on a different level. That place was roaring at the end of the first half when the Knicks got the three almost at the buzzer from the offensive rebound from Bridges. They kick it back out to Brunson. He hits a shot from downtown. The place was on its feet. They were exploding. The buzzer sounds at halftime. Huge round of applause for the orange and blue. Like, this building has come alive. I have a feeling they're going to be ready to get after it again tomorrow. And I can't wait to see the energy they bring. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but in the rounds going forward too. So that was great. Um,
Yeah, 100%.
and yeah, so that puts a bow on the Knicks conversation here. Real quick, we won't go super long today. Just got one more thing that I'd like to talk about, and it's not as bright and fun as what was with the Knicks yesterday, and that's the passing of the legendary New York Yankee announcer John Sterling. He passes away at the age of 89. He had he had a heart attack a couple months ago back in January. He revealed that on the radio in February. And then Michael Kay, who obviously has developed a close relationship with John over all the years that they did Yankees baseball on TV together and the radio as well, had been checking in on him and his rehab process and whatever. And over the course of the past couple weeks, it got so bad with John that he was completely bedridden. He couldn't do anything. And he was really pushing his rehab because his daughter is getting married this summer. And he had said to Michael, "Okay, Michael, I just have to take her down the aisle. I have to be there for my daughter and her wedding." Unfortunately, he did not make it to the summer to walk his daughter down the aisle. He passed away on May 4th, yesterday morning. We all got the heartbreaking news. And look, the legacy of John Sterling is one of the greatest in the sportscasting industry. He was the voice of the Yankees for 27 years. He came to the Yankees in right around 1990. I think 1989 was his first season behind the microphone. 5 World Series, like 270 postseason games, over 5,000 regular season games. He was the soundtrack to so many of our childhoods, the legendary home run calls, the emphatic, empowering baritone of a voice that he provided every single night. And as a diehard Yankee fan that listened to him all the time in the car growing up, but more so than that, as a 20-year-old kid with a microphone behind me right now and an aspiring sports broadcaster, that guy was truly one of a kind. He was one of the all-time greats, one of my personal favorites. And one thing, Tom, yesterday that was so emblematic of the life and the career and the legacy that John Sterling left behind was the reception that he got from everybody. I mean, yesterday, the outpouring of people on social media, on sports radio during the Yankee game yesterday, they put together a beautiful tribute and ceremony for him. The outpouring of love and support for that guy was was unlike anything you'll see for a sports broadcaster, not even somebody who played, because that's how much he was loved by so many and how great he was at his job and how wonderful of a person he was. He was just as Susan Waldman said, he was just as who you heard on the microphone calling Yankee games was exactly the kind of person that John was off the microphone. And yeah, it was definitely a sad day yesterday, but anything that you want to add to that, I will let you step in.
Yeah, no, like you said, I mean, he did it longer than we were alive, and just crazy that he was such a good announcer. Obviously, he had so many famous home run calls and individual batter calls that you diehard Yankees fans love to hear. But like you said, more importantly, he was such a good person, which you could tell he was very genuine and just an overall, obviously a Hall of Fame broadcaster and Hall of Fame person, and just very important that we give him his flowers. So, I mean, just very sad news, but he
Yeah,
will be missed for sure.
and I talked about the tributes that they did at Yankee Stadium yesterday. It was awesome. Before the game, Susan Waldman, who was obviously his very longtime partner in the radio booth for Yankee games for WFAN, and Michael Kay, another longtime partner of his, they went out onto the field before first pitch and delivered a thing of flowers to, it was either behind home plate or in front of the pitcher's mound, or probably right in between that area, actually. And they laid down the flowers and they had a moment of silence at the stadium. They had a big, beautiful picture of him up on the Jumbotron. And I heard another voice on the fan today mention that they had a moment of silence for him, and, it's very, very disrespectful to like yell during a moment of silence or anything, because that's just not what you do. But somebody, if there was anything appropriate to say in that moment of silence, if there was anything to blur out and for everybody to hear, it was, "That's baseball, Susan." One of his all-time lines that he that he would throw out, I mean, on any given night, basically, whenever there was a wacky play or something like that, he would just chalk it up to simply, "That's baseball, Susan," his color commentary partner right next to him. And somebody blurted that out. And that was John, man. And John didn't just do baseball too, Tom. He actually was the Atlanta Brit. He did some NBA. He was a New Jersey Nets announcer. He did 1 year of the Knicks before coming to New York. He was down in Atlanta where he did Braves baseball as well. And missing one thing. Oh, he was hockey as well. Yeah, I think he was the Islanders announcer for about 5 years too. So
Wow.
very multi-talented guy. I mean, his legacy will live with the Yankees, and all those games he played. Never missed a game too. You talk about the longevity aspect of him. He never missed a freaking game. It was over 5,000 games in a row that he called,
Jeez.
which is unreal. I mean,
Unbelievable.
yeah, most of these baseball announcers are taking at least, 20, 30 games a year off. That guy traveled. He never missed a game. He called. So he died yesterday at 89. He was doing it full time until he was, I guess, 87, because he retired in the beginning of the 2024 season. So just a guy that showed up to work every day and brought great passion, great energy, awesome calls, and we will miss him dearly. Soundtrack of my childhood for sure. And to me, the home run calls were great. I'll shout out a few in just a few moments, but also his voice. That is such an, especially when you're listening on the radio, Tom,
Yeah.
such an underrated aspect about it is what is the quality of their voice. Unfortunately, my voice sounds a little geeky, but his voice, man, was like, I mean, and it'll be a 1-2, it's 3-2. That baritone, that was so unique and like a snowflake of one of a kind. I mean, you could put out a John Sterling audio clip it for a millisecond. I'm going to pick that up in my head and know who that is. Um, and I loved turning on 1019 FM and hearing him. And will be missed dearly. My favorite home run calls, I mean, I've heard so many since his passing, so many have been put out there for listening purposes and whatever. And the Godzilla call for Hideki Matsui, and a lot, A-bomb for A-Rod. Trying to think of some older ones right now. There was a good Johnny Damon one too. Can't think of it. But in my era, listening to Yankee baseball on the radio, really, by the time I was a diehard fan, probably like 2015, 2016, and just hearing uh, Gio Urshela, One Happy Fella, text message from Mark Teixeira, sends a text message to right field. All rise for Aaron Judge. Um, the court has whatever. The list goes on and on. There's so many. What was the Didi Gregorius? This one's gonna kill me, because my two favorites, I think, would be Gio Urshela, One Happy Fella, and whatever Didi's was. It must have been something like gosh, one of the great calls was Didi Gregorius's 3-run home run in the wild card game in 2017 against the Twins. He rocked the ball to right field to tie that game 3-3, and he broke out the Didi call. All right, go look it up. I'm not going to sit here and think about it all day. But yeah, the calls were amazing. Stantonian blast. John Barlow, Monsignor Larlo. He was great. Rest in peace, John. And his legacy will live on forever. I hope that the Yankees will play the Yankees win, which I didn't even mention after
I was gonna
every
say you gotta give the audience your best. The Yankees win.
the Yankees win. After I hope they keep playing that at Yankee Stadium after every win for the remainder of the year. They already put the JS at the back of that hat, so hopefully that stays for the rest of the year because this guy deserves to be remembered. All right, Tom.
100%.
Great having you on, bro. We're not going to do any Mets or Yankees stuff. The Yankees are the best team in baseball right now. We all know it. Aaron Judge and Ben Rice are the two. It's the most powerful duo in the game right now. We've won 15 out of our last 17 games, swept away the Baltimore Orioles over the weekend, finishing it off yesterday for Sterling, 12-1 win. Texas Rangers coming into town tonight. Going to have a tough pitcher that we face in Jacob deGrom. And the Mets are picking up their slack a little bit too. They beat the Angels in the 3-game set over the weekend, and then they started off
Playing the Rockies now.
they started off yesterday's series. Nice win against the Rockies, as they should. Look, getting swept by the Rockies at home is unacceptable because they're the worst team in baseball, or at least they're supposed to be. The Mets might chase them for that title this year. But Mets take the first one. They finally beat the Rockies yesterday. I think today's game was canceled, Tom. I think. They're expecting a shit ton of snow in Colorado,
Yeah.
which is crazy. It's Cinco de Mayo, and in Colorado, they still
Yeah.
get freaking 10 inches of snow out there. So, Mets canceled tonight. I'm sure they'll make that up with the doubleheader tomorrow. So there's a little MLB local update there. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Enjoy the Knick game Wednesday night, game 2 of the second round semifinals against Philadelphia. Tommy, thank you for coming on, kid. We will see you next time.
Yes,
Adios.
sir.